Hello, hello. Welcome to Jinky Transits with Monifa. And as we get started, you're not giving me my A-OK anymore. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yes, we are doing the transits for today. It is the Aries full moon on October 17th and Gene Key 42. So, I like to use Karen Curry Parker's Quantum Human Design as a reference for human design energy as well. And the gate 42 in Quantum Human Design is conclusion. And in the Gene Keys, it is the shadow of the shadow of expectation, the gift of detachment, and the city of celebration. So this is interesting energy. I like to tap into like a little bit of how it's formed, what it's made for, is how I think of it, because the body graph to me is an example of just how energy runs, how it's just wired, how we are wired to receive this energy. And so this one goes from sacral to the root. And so it's fiery. Fiery is the word that I would have for it. Well, it's Aries, right? And the amino acid here is leucine, and it is the ring of a life and death. So the codon ring is the ring that it is part of, if the amino acid is a part of in the DNA strand. So that's where the gene keys comes from. It is from actual the reference of the DNA strand and how each of the amino acids work in relationship to that function. Um, Whatever function that the DNA is serving, and different parts bring up different parts of the DNA, right? So the channel is evolution. So it meets the other side of that channel. Um, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm going to double check when I get to that part, but it's channel of evolution. And so, yeah, and that is that willingness to move into the next level of what you have in front of you. So, as you heard from the ring of life and death part of that, that is the capacity to let go. You know, I talk about my work in 1,000 different ways because whenever I meet somebody who understands energy or understands voice or understands vibration, it always comes back into like whether it's the relationship of nature and cycles, or if it's the relationship of this kind of what part of the cycle, what phase, where are we in the time and the frame, which is why I love astrology. It's telling us where the energy is going, what part of that are we in. Is it more time to let go than it is to like get things started? And in the full moon, that would be typical anyways, right? A lot of us, especially here, we're like, full moon is let go time. What are we releasing so that we can bring in the new thing? And then on top of that, we have this 42, which is death. And the cycle of life and death in the gene keys. The other correlation is, well, is 32. So that's the programming partner. So the key that is the other side of the channel of evolution is 53, and that's what I want to double check. And that is connecting. What allows for that is that gift of fulfillment. So what does it mean to be fulfilled or have a fulfilling life, right? And how do we know that? Well, that's from where we are, where we stand, the root of our energy. So that's, I like to kind of just tap into those things so that we understand, what is the potency of the energy? Because we're not just talking about prediction, not here. Here, we're not just talking about prediction, we're talking about what is available to us in this now moment. How do we be best resourced? And are we using those resources effectively for this phase of the cycle, right? So that's what we're really tapping into here. And so in the gene key 42, in the shadow of expectation, gift of detachment, and the city of celebration, we're understanding what it means to wait, what it is, what is waiting, and what is waiting energy. And this shadow is saying that feeling that you think that the future is better than now, so that you aren't really being resourceful in that way, right? Because that means that you're not appreciating everything that's available to you in this now moment, right? And so that's what the difference is like. And in that shadow, we're just waiting for something to for it to get better and not being, taking advantage of what you have now, right? And so entanglement is kind of what happens in this energy for me. So this the reason why I'm thinking about this so hard. This key is my radiance key in the gene key chart. So for those of you who know, radiance key is about what keeps us healthy, what keeps us vibrant, what energy is an automatic result of us living our life. It's just kind of if you want to think of, if you mix flour and water, you're going to get dough, right? So just from the movement of our life and our energy moving, that's giving us this flavor of, yeah, this energy, which is expectation, right? That entanglement of desire with your mind, desires with your mind. So, how I experience this is essentially that I don't just want things, I expect them, right? And it's the worst feeling. It feels like dying when those expectations are not fulfilled, right? The other side of that channel of evolution. And so for a long time, it became this opposite, in which we'll talk about and how it shows up in the opposite energy of the repressed energy and the reactive energy, which are the opposites of the shadow. And for me, it just would show up as, oh, I'm not going to want anything. I'm not attached to anything. I'm just going to not want anything. And that way, right, I won't be disappointed. Right. And so that is what is kind of like saying, okay, like if you can only appreciate your life if you're getting what you expect, then we need to have a level of detachment. So what happens is that just from us wanting something, we're projecting what we think things should be. And that just creates a lot of energy muck up, right? If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Like energy doesn't work that way. And it's a good way to get your energy bogged down. I experienced that a lot as like anxiety and overwhelm and confusion, right? So when you want to get connected, then that is something that we get from this now moment, not from this future casting predictive thing, which is why I'm kind of hesitant to move into that arena of this idea that astrology is a prediction, right? Because we make of life what we will. In other words, what we are receiving in this now moment and acting on, right? So, if you're equating expectation as the truth of success, you have already failed. This is the quote I pulled from the Gene Keys that has stuck with me from the very first time I've read it. It's just, it just brought home to me the truth of that statement because that programming partner, because that's my radiance key, is my purpose key, that programming partner 32, right? And that shadow is failure. So it likes to do that mirroring, that projection mirrors, right? So once you project onto something, then it's going to mirror what you think you should see or what you are missing, right? So that feels like failure, right? And so that idea that my expectation is causing my failure, because failure doesn't exist if we continue to try or continue to be available to what our resources are in every moment. Because if we're here, then we've got resources, right? It may not always feel that way, it may not always look like that's in the bank account, but it is true, right? So that's the nature. It's this idea of death. That energy is what allows things to decay, which allows them to be transmuted and transformed into what's next, right? It's a natural part of our natural cycle, right? We wouldn't care about life if there was no death. And well, maybe we would, but it wouldn't be as precious, right? And so the fear here is that you're going to run out of time, that you're not going to have enough time to be fulfilled and have a fulfilling life and do all the things that would make and create a fulfilling life, make enough money so that you can have a fulfilling life, right? So everything's future casted. I don't know why I keep saying it like that, but that's how it occurred in my head. So I repeated it. So on the repressive side, this looks like grasping. So an inability to let go of things, is wanting to hold on to something that is no longer vital and vibrant. And it is a fear of change. You don't want anything to change because we feel like we're losing things, right? Or that the change is not going to be good, which again is that future casting that for me like becomes not being optimistic, right? Opposite of optimistic, right? Um, so yeah, so it really does. It becomes an extreme pessimism where you just imagine a worst case scenario all the time. And so that's a downward spiral, right? So with all evolutionary energy, which is what DNA is and what it is, all nature is this evolving energy. So all evolutionary energy is going to either spiral up or it's going to spiral down. And it's okay to experience a shadow. It's not wrong. It's telling us where the energy is available to spiral up, right? So the other side is reactive. It's being flaky. So the inability to complete things, moving from one thing to another and not letting things complete just so that you can feel like you're getting things done and moving in action, and being disappointed or avoiding disappointment so you don't commit to something so you're not disappointed if it doesn't fulfill itself, like have become the result that you desire. So the pattern here is that you give up on things before they can come to fruition, or you never start a thing so that you never have to see it fail, right? That programming partner reflection of failure. So yeah, so the evolution, how do we move into the spiral that goes up from this energy, not just not the part that we don't like, right? So it looks like remembering that we are part of a great natural cycle. So not just a cycle, but a greater. So there's a reason why we're on the planet, and there's a reason why this planet's in this solar system, and there's a reason why the solar system's in this universe, and da 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 da, right? Like the greater cycle of it all. And that there's a purpose and something that is becoming, that is ultimately life, right? Ultimately life, not just of our life, but of all life. And like appreciating that even if we're not physically here, right? Letting go of life, that it allows us to become the next vital thing, right? We become the next vital thing. So it is like a little spooky, but it's appropriate, and we're going towards the end of October here. So it is that idea of a bit of transmutation within the context of Aries, which is also telling you how much power is here, how much of your vital energy and willingness to move and act and be is in this energy. That in order for us to have that highly vital sense, we have to be able to let go of things, right? So the power here is the detachment. The gift is the detachment. So what that allows is that we're not only recognizing the immediacy of feelings as the goal, right? And if we're only looking at the outcomes and the goals being met as proof of life, or that life is worth living, then it becomes again that mired shadow. So here And the attachment, you actually get to, it doesn't mean that you don't feel at all. It means that actually you're just separate enough that you can let a thing be a thing, right? So that you're not so clingy that you can't appreciate something. Like, if you think about a relationship and they have the saying that if you let them go and they come back, then they really love you. And I think this is um I don't know how exact that statement is, but the truth, the truth is that better if it happens that way, right? Better. Like if you're like, okay, well, if you want to not be with me anymore, that's okay. I'm gonna miss you. Like being honest, I think is always the right way to go in these things. So it's not like letting go and like suffering quietly as they leave if you want them to be there, right? But if you're like, okay, it's fine, and they're like, okay, let me think about it, and they leave for a couple days or whatever, and don't wait on people forever. I'm not saying that, but then they come back, then you get that, oh my God, like you chose me, right? And that's kind of what we get with life too. We get this feeling that, oh, like you're looking for me too, this thing that we want so bad. And that feeling for me, that gifted detachment is like really being able to appreciate something because I know it's not going anywhere, right? Um, and I wouldn't know that if I wasn't fully willing to let go of it. I think of this also of my vision of my work, even that I wouldn't know like how important my work is if I wasn't willing to say, what if I don't do this anymore? Right. I do it with my marriage too. Like, my husband and I talked about this a few times where it's just, you get to a point you're like, if you can't ask that question, like, what would I do if I wasn't in this marriage? What would I do without them? Right. Then you don't fully appreciate that every day we're choosing each other, right? That's a different kind of commitment. And that's what's available in the power of this. So you get to celebrate it every time you're willing to let go. So that's how I think of it. In my marriage, I get to celebrate it every time we choose each other. We don't have to wait for anniversaries, right? We can do it every day. And so that I think is a power. It's a super powerful, and it is a big thing of what's kept us together. Now, Karen Curry Parker is coming to us with the quantum human design energy expression description as conclusion. So this is taking care of unfinished business, wrapping that junk up, right? Like bringing it into completion. And that's what's hard about this is that we often think that we can't, right? Either we don't have enough time or we don't have um, enough resources, right, to bring things to conclusion. And then in an optimal way, this energy is saying that we know exactly what we need to keep things, complete things so that we can build something new. And so that's the beauty of that piece. So on the unbalanced expression is the pressure of confusion and self-judgment for being unable to get things started. So this is kind of that pressure we put on ourselves for procrastinating, and then things back up and they get into overwhelm, and or we try to just complete it too fast and then it's not done well and it's not done the way that we know we could do it, and then we kind of get and regret over that. So that's the unbalanced expression. But what we want to know, right, is how do we complete things? So that's the optimal expression, right? So how do we complete things? So the contemplations that I brought in from Karen Curry Parker on this one are, what things in my life do I need to finish to make room for something new? And how can I learn to be gentler with myself? And I think that is truly the key, especially for me, because this is also like wanting that feeling of 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 movement, of change, right? So in order for that to happen, a lot of times when I'm in procrastination mode, it's because it's painful to approach the thing. So if I'm just like, okay, I'm going to just be gentle with myself. I'm going to ease myself into it. What would be an easy way to get started? Or how can I really allow myself to relax and not take it so seriously? And then come back to it when I have more wherewithal, right? So the affirmation here that we bring in from Karen Curry Parker's Quantum Human Design is my ability to realign and complete things helps others create space for transformation and expansion. So I like this one because a lot of my people are service oriented, and so am I. And so when I know I can help somebody else, I tend to buck up a little bit, right? I tend to get out of it sometimes feels like a pity party. I'm a Cancer sun and moon. And Scorpio rising, like I could really glorify just feeling bad. And I see this ability and this ability to almost appreciate sadness, right, as an artist. And I've seen it in my clients and my creative and innovative um, clients and coworkers and visionaries that I love to work with and support. So there's a few things that I'm coming up. Like we have so much going on right now. I have to tell you about, right? So we'll bring that up in a second after we go over the three things to let go of this full moon in Aries. So the first thing is to complete tasks that are taking up the most brain space. So this is talking directly to me. So I feel like I'm a little foggy right now. I did some meditation before I came in, but I probably should have done some voice work. I didn't do the voice work before I came in. And what that means essentially is that I have things in my mind that I know that, oh, I would really love to be completed. I would really love to get done. And it's just not available in this now moment, right? And I also know I'm tired. So I'm going to take it easy for the rest of the night after this. But there is that feeling that, okay, I can come back to this with more space if I just go ahead and tackle the bigger thing, right? And sometimes that's all you need is the wherewithal. Like, well, it'll feel better if I really realize that I'm slowing down on everything because of this one thing, which is super cool. We're talking about the one thing that's a book by Gary Keller and Papaska. I forgot. There's two authors. But we're doing that in Verve podcast next week on Thursday. So that's the 25th or the 25th. So I think it's Thursday or Friday. We usually do it on Thursday. So yeah, and so that will be really good because a lot of this is that understanding that we have to detach from the everything and like focus on a thing. And I actually put that in what are things to let go of too. So let go of things that you no longer value as number two. We tend to think once we like something that we should be loyal to it for the rest of our lives. And it's just not a thing. And it doesn't make way for the new you that's constantly being evolved into, that you're constantly evolving into your next true self. So when you let go of the things you no longer value, you're making space for what you value now and what you value most in this now moment and in the future that's coming, right? And so it just brings us closer to that energy of what we are manifesting or creating or the goals, right? So let go of the things you no longer value so we can bring in the things that you do. We're gonna, number three, we're gonna wrap up those loose ends and energetic ties. So this is energy maintenance, y'all. This is a daily thing. I don't know why it's a daily thing. You would think like it wouldn't be, but nature tells all, right? You don't clean the bathroom one time and it's clean for the rest of your life. Wouldn't that be nice? Right? You don't wash your body and it's clean for the rest of your life. This is what maintenance means. And we maintain or we take care of or we nurture, cultivate the things that we value. So if you value your energy and if you value feeling good, then you need to take care of your energy. So that means wrapping up loose ends of relationships, like old relationships. If you haven't been through all the relationships and just done a quick review, let's like not go into the depths with anything, do a quick review and then just coming to self and saying, okay, I appreciate what I learned from that relationship and I call all of my energy back to me, right? I don't believe in cutting ties, but I do believe in maintaining or um, like deciding how much energy is going through that tie. And you can call all of that energy back. It doesn't have to necessarily be cut, right? I think that can cause other energetic problems. But if you feel that's necessary, that's you. And that's, everybody to their own. So I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm just saying that's not what I would suggest. Cultivating. In other words, like one of my clients brought in pictures of bonsai trees, and then one of them was like a 400 and I don't know 83 years old, 5 generations or no 8 generations of people have been taking care of this bonsai tree. At the cutting, it's the cutting that brings it into that shape and form, and that lets it be its healthy, amazingly beautiful self, right? That ability um that cultivation, right? So we're not cutting off like everything. We're like, and then to me, relationships, people, connecting energies as far as people, like that's roots. You wouldn't go in and cut off a root, right? But you might trim the branches and start cultivating what you want to be part of what you consider a real and a solid relationship. That makes a ton of sense, right? So then we have our so let me tell you a few things. All right, we have some announcements. So I'm gonna be on well, not live, but I'll be in the Facebook group, Get Vocal Facebook group on Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, US. And we will be doing Cosmic Prosperity. It's going to be an event for people who feel like me about their finances and have had to do a lot of work, and they still have to do a lot of work on their finances. So if you've ever been in avoidance mode and you want to know what it takes to shift out of that, like there's not a bigger avoidance mode person than I. Trust on that, and trust that if I'm getting anything done, that it's because I'm doing something that works. And that's what I'm going to pass on Sunday. So it's really going to be about breaking those old patterns. It's about tapping into your prosperity energy, which is unique to all of us. It's going to be about being able to recreate the feeling of prosperity, even if you're not getting that evidence met in the bank account, on the externals is what I call it, like what you see outside happening in the world around you. Okay, so that's going to be really awesome. And you're going to get a PDF of a checklist that allows you to see, okay, am I taking care of my energy? It's really that kind of information. Am I taking care of what I need to be able to be confident in moving forward in my financial work, action, decisions, right? So that's going to be fun. And then I'm also in the Business Reinvention Summit, which is epic. I did an epic interview for them. I tell a lot of stories that I haven't told in a while, that really bring home what's vital about this work of knowing yourself, knowing your energy, and being able to choose and replicate it at any moment. And that is going to be really powerful. So I'm looking forward to those of you who get a piece of that. So I'll put that link also in our description. And then also, Voicing Your Vision Summit is coming, which is the summit that I've been doing for 4 years now. So this will be our fourth year. We have amazing speakers. We have this wonderful lady who is coming in to teach us about how do we decode our desire. She has been a sex worker for a long time, and she's now teaching other people how to maintain their energy, what their desires mean, how to understand the desires of their partner, and what does that mean? How can you tap into that to bring your vision or your prosperity or your freedom into real life? And it's deep work, y'all. It's deep work. That's just one of many. We have our beautiful people who are focused on health and holistic health and what that means over the whole of the mind, body, spirit continuum, and not just talking about diets and all of that, which is fine too. But we also know it's a bigger work than that to be truly healthy and vibrant, right? And then we have so many, oh my God, we have so many great business people coming to y'all. This one lady is an amazing expert on real estate. Like she has created this the goddess, oh, I'm forgetting it, real estate goddesses group. And what's beautiful about that is just, getting behind the people that give back to the community in a way that can allow them to build bigger things for more people, right? But yeah, but she does like combination work, so it's not like you're just out there on your own taking this risk by yourself. She has a group that allows you to learn what you need to know if you want to do it on your own, but in the meantime there's also opportunities to do that together. And I think that's really cool because that gives everybody a way to move forward and learn together and at the level that works for them. So that's just a few of the people, y'all. We have 22, 23 speakers and 3 returning, as well as my bonus recording. So I'll do a couple bonus recordings. I'm actually thinking about doing like a documentary piece, not a documentary, but like an edutainment. I don't know. I don't know. I know if you've seen like kind of the way YouTube is going with some of their work. I want to make one of those and I have something. Yeah, we'll see if that happens. I don't know. Time is going fast right now, folks. Okay, so that's it of that. 3 content ideas for this full moon, Aries. So now, so the first one I have is, what are old beliefs the people you work with need to let go of? Yeah, so there could be multiple here, but I just picked one for this one because it's like kind of in my craw. Um, and that one is hard work works. And I feel like this is more to myself right now than anybody else. Like this is the time of year that I've chosen to work harder. And the other time I prioritize being fully rested and all this kind of thing. But even if I didn't have that as kind of what was happening, there's also other things that are kind of not giving me full rest cycles, which I think is really important. I believe in resting to have excess and over that more than you need, right? And so it's about that. It's about that. Like this is an already difficult time. We're having so many changes in the world. We're having major decisions in the US government, and we're not getting a lot of great support overall. Overall, people are working really hard on what they need and not having a lot of time for each other. And the people that want to help the most aren't getting the support they need so they can help more, right? And so it becomes this crazy like cycle. So I want you to know that it doesn't start working harder. It doesn't start there, right? If I hadn't let myself really cultivate my energy throughout the year, which I did so many things, food, yes, movement, yes, doing more like stretching and increasing my energetic capacity, all these kind of things to fulfill myself more so that I would have the capacity to do a little hard work right? And I think there's cycles for this too. I think is when something's really important, you put your nose down and you get it done. And then you do let yourself rest afterward. Anyways, what is yours? What is the belief that people are holding about what they need to do that you know better, right? And then number two is what is the one thing your clients won't live without? I think this is aspirational, right? So for my clients, it's freedom. There's nothing more important to them. And even though they want like kind of the success and recognition and they want to be successful in their own way by their own definition, that's what's important about it. Like they don't want to be just generally successful the way other people think success looks like, which is usually like money, cars, sex. I don't know. you know, they want freedom and the freedom money brings. Yes, the freedom that recognition brings so they can serve the more people, right? The freedom is what they're looking for. So, what are your clients looking for? They're not willing to um, sacrifice. Yeah. Now, number three is what is an expectation that keeps clients stuck? Yeah. So I break this from the shadow, obviously. Yeah, the expectation that keeps clients stuck. So for me, it is that being perfect will get them what they want. So again, working hard so that they can be shiny and fancy, so they can be like all that they think that they need to be in order to be supported, right? And it always backfires because if you look that shiny, then nobody knows they need to help if you're not if you're not speaking up, right? You can be shiny and then speak up and be like, okay. And then it's not really a, oh, poor me, I need help. It is a, you do this. If, will you do this for me? Or do this for me so that we can, dot, 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 right? You don't just kind of work harder and then hope somebody notices how hard you're working because that just brings that never being fully supported, not ever being appreciated, and then like people putting more work on you because you the one has it all together. It creates a kind of that cycle of that. So how do we shift it? I felt like I couldn't leave it there. To shift out of that, we have to shift into what is fulfilling for ourselves in the now moment. Um, this is why I feel so deeply about rest, because I believe rest is restoration. It brings us back to our wholeness of self, and that is fulfillment. So when we get into that fulfillment, that energy is already going to be like, oh, I see. There are things happening here. Energy is already moving and motivated here. So I'm going to add to it. That's how we get people on board because they're like, oh, it's moving. People are being helped. People are being served. I want to be a part of that, right? And being joyful. Like this is something that I'm constantly talking about with my singing clients, where if you don't feel good, if you don't feel good about what's happening in your body, if you feel like you're on edge and um, that you're struggling and having to fight for every note, then there's no way, I don't care, there's no way that you're making a sound that is other people are going to just be expansively joyful about. And that's not how that works. You have to feel good about it yourself, right? And when that feels good coming through you and you're tapped into the emotion of the energy that's part of the song, that is what gets passed on, and the energy on the stage and in the moment, that's what people are like sop up with the biscuit, right? And that's I love that quote from Maya Angelou of people won't always remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that's always been my superpower. I don't have like, I'm not going to draw millions of people in this now moment, maybe in a few years, but in this now moment. But I can right, make people feel, right? And the people that connect with me deeply. So the other part is that you want to feel that expansiveness of what's happening, that you're not at the capacity. I think of this also in a voice as well, but it's true in our action energy, what we're doing, what we're creating. If we feel like we only can do things within a tight framework and we feel like we're locked in, that's not expansive. And if we're not feeling expansive, then that is what's keeping us from having a higher result, a better result overall. So those are your three things. Those are your three things. So I stated the question first, and then I talked about what that comes up for with my clients. So I like to teach on all sides. I know I'm getting a handle on it. But I appreciate you for chilling with me today. And please come on Sunday to the Cosmic Prosperity event where we are going to get to our prosperity energy. And I will see you there. And I will see you a lot next week too. Have a good rest of your evening.